the Mountaineers were able to survive the Cyclones in Morgantown. In about 15 seconds, I'll give you my thoughts on the game, so stay tuned. What is up, college football fans and fellow members of Mountaineer Nation? This is Coos, and welcome to another edition of Coos' Corner, your go-to channel for college sports with a heavy dose of West Virginia Mountaineers. What can I say? Once again, I pick against my Mountaineers, but they win. But I'm okay with that. I'll definitely take it. A huge win, got the monkey off their back against a team that they hadn't been able to beat in 3 years. Neil Brown was 0-2 against them. They even won in 18 when West Virginia, in Dana Holgerson's last year, when West Virginia had that really good offense. Iowa State was able to shut them down that year. But this year, different story. Just so happy for this team, for those players, for the coaching staff, and for us fans, man. It's been a rough couple weeks. They go on a bye and then they come out an entirely different football team. I mean, I don't know what they did or changed during that bye week, but man, it's really cool to see. Two biggest factors in the game yesterday, in my opinion, were third downs and time of possession. I mean, the third down efficiency. I got a lot of stats I'm gonna read to you today, but the third down efficiency. West Virginia was 9 of 15 on third down, which is a 60% efficiency. Iowa State was 2 of 12, 17% efficiency. Huge difference. Time of possession, West Virginia held the ball for 34 minutes and 18 seconds. Iowa State, 25 minutes and 42 seconds. Now, some of that was because of Iowa State hit a couple big plays for touchdowns, which obviously limits their time of possession. But even with that, man, that's a 9 minute, almost a 9 minute difference in time of possession. West Virginia, as a defense, was able to get them off the field on third downs, which also affects time of possession. So those two things kind of go hand in hand there. But I thought those were both huge factors in the game. West Virginia even lost the turnover battle by 1 and was still able to win the game. Gave up a pick 6, but man, just the way those guys were able to respond to adversity, I thought was really impressive. I just couldn't be happier, man. In my opinion, this might be the biggest win of the Neil Brown era in Morgantown, just because of the timing of it, how the team was reeling there a couple weeks ago, and how people had been calling for his job, and just how bad they looked, a couple weeks ago. And the fact that they've been able to make such drastic improvements in such a short period of time, just it's impressive. It really is. I think most fans are hopefully trusting the climb again. Those that didn't, I was still trusting it. But hopefully everybody's back on the climb bandwagon. And got a huge game in Morgantown next week against another really good Oklahoma State team, who's once again we have a ranked team coming to Morgantown for the third time this year. Second time a top 15 team's going to be coming in. So hopefully they can repeat what they've done the previous 2 times against Virginia Tech and Iowa State. Some other interesting stats. First off, I thought the O-line played fantastic. Iowa State had not given up a 100-yard rusher the entire season. Leddie Brown goes for 100 yards in the game. Offensive line gave up 0 sacks. Iowa State was averaging 2.4 sacks a game, and both of their defensive ends were in the top 3 in the league in sacks. McDonald was leading the Big 12 in sacks with 7.5. And then their other defensive end, who I cannot pronounce his name, was tied with Dante Stills for third place with 5 sacks for the season. The offensive line and the quarterbacks gave up 0. Doege was getting the ball out of his hands quick. He was making his reads really well. And then the offensive line was blocking well. And of course, they had help with TJ Banks at the tight end position, and also the running back blocked as well. But so you can't leave them out. But just an all-around great performance. I mean, Iowa State's defense, listen to some of these numbers. ISU's defense was giving up 17 points a game. West Virginia scored 38. They were giving up 263.6 yards a game. West Virginia had over 490, almost 500 yards. Our offense just really stepped up. Iowa State hadn't given up over 350 yards of offense in any single game. West Virginia, like I said, over nearly 500. So it's just, all the way around. There's not really, pretty much every statistical category, West Virginia beat them in. West Virginia's defense. I mean, where there again, Josh Chandler-Semedo, the guy came into the game second in the Big 12 in tackles, averaging 8.6 tackles a game. He had 12 tackles in that game yesterday, and a sack. So he just continues to perform well every single week. Here's an interesting stat I picked up off Heartland College Sports. Now, this was going into the Iowa State game. West Virginia's defense, listen to this interesting stat. They were averaging the fewest missed tackles per game of any team in the Big 12. That's pretty neat stuff right there. I haven't seen the stats on yesterday on missed tackles, but that's a stat I had never seen before. As far as I've never seen anyone keep track of that stat before. But I'm gonna post a link to Heartland College Sports where they mention that stat. They actually mentioned all the Big 12 stats. This was prior to Week 9 games, obviously, but so it'll be interesting to see what they look like. West Virginia's defense has been performing pretty well statistically all year. They had given up some game-winning drives at the end of games, and were known to give up some big plays, which they did again yesterday. But they stepped up when they needed to yesterday. Yesterday, they came down. They once again had a chance to give up a game-winning drive, and they didn't. They held firm. They held their ground. They made a stop. They forced that fumble in the end zone there on that one drive to Breece Hall, who doesn't fumble the football. But and kudos to Breece Hall. He had another outstanding game yesterday. I think he had over 120 yards rushing against a West Virginia defense that is good at stopping the run. So shout out to him. He still had a great game. Brock Purdy had a great game. But let's talk again about West Virginia. Let's talk about Jarrett Doege for a minute. Listen, I've been hard on Jarrett Doege at times myself. The fan base overall has been really hard on Jarrett Doege, and some of it was deserved because he has made some head-scratching decisions this year. But after yesterday, I think we all need to be quiet about Jarrett Doege because he showed what he can do when he has good protection and he's able to have time to throw the football. Listen to his numbers. First off, I'm going to give you Brock Purdy's numbers, okay? Brock Purdy, who we all know is a great quarterback, very well respected, and everybody considers him to be a great Big 12 quarterback, right? Here's his numbers. He was 16 out of 27, 185 yards, averaging 6.9 yards per completion, 1 touchdown, a QBR of 72.4. Here's Jarrett Doege's numbers. 30 out of 46, 370 yards, average of 8 yards per completion, 3 touchdowns. Now, he did throw the 2 picks, but one of those picks was not his fault. It bounced right out of Bryce Ford-Wheaton's hands into the defender's hands, and the defender made a great play on it too, so you got to give him credit. But he did throw the one really bad. He made the one really bad decision to throw that ball across his body to the wide side boundary, where it's basically anytime you make that throw and you don't have a lot of zip on it, it's a pick six, and it ended up being a pick six. But other than that, I mean, that was really in my opinion, the only big mistake he made yesterday. His QBR was 83.4 compared to Brock Purdy's at 72.4. So he actually outplayed a guy who's not been maligned very much, Brock Purdy, and who had been playing, according to Iowa State folks, the best he had ever played in his career the last 3 weeks coming into this game. So Jarrett Doege stepped up, played what I think is the best game of his West Virginia career. And he had a lot of pressure on him because Coach Brown told him going into the game that he had to play well for them to win. But instead of letting that get in his head and make him nervous and put pressure on himself, he did the opposite. He stepped up and made plays. And we can't say enough about Bryce Ford-Wheaton, man. That catch he made, number one, he had over 100 yards receiving yesterday, 2 touchdowns. But that one touchdown he had where he come down to the back of the end zone and got his foot in, awesome play. One of the best, arguably the best play of the season so far. Just a huge play. Made up for the mistake he made where his drop pass led to the interception. Was able to redeem himself and make that play. Just overall, I mean, the offense played, with the exception of the pick six and a few other errors here and there, man, they played almost flawless football. I mean, it was just a really, really great game. I don't really know what else to say. I will say this. All in all, great team win. Coaching staff, great job. You know, a couple little issues there with having to take timeouts they didn't need to take, but wasn't able to get plays in. But you know what? They were able to overcome that stuff, and earlier in the season they weren't. And that to me, that's improvement. That shows maturity. It shows improvement. It shows the ability to fix things that are broken on a team, which not only kudos to the coaching staff, but also the senior leadership on this team. The senior leadership, which is probably led by Josh Chandler-Semedo, Dante Stills, Leddie Brown, Jarrett Doege, they deserve kudos as well for stepping up and being leaders, leading this team to a big win. I hope they can keep the momentum up next week against Oklahoma State, another very tough game. I look forward to doing my preview for that game once I'm able to dig into the numbers a little bit. But listen, I hope you enjoyed this video. Just wanted to kind of, I know I did my quick 1 minute reaction yesterday, but I wanted to go a little deeper into the numbers on this one and do a full video on it. But overall, great team win. Offensive line stepped up. Everybody stepped up. And I hope it continues into next week. Would it not be awesome if West Virginia can win out and finish 8-4? I think it's very doable. I think every game, now that I've seen how good this team can play, every game on our schedule is winnable now. Not going to be easy, but they're all winnable. I asked if you like this video, please give me the thumbs up button. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share this with your friends. My channel continues to grow, and I really appreciate all the support you guys have given me. Special shout out to Lord Raiden. Lord Raiden, you've been a very big supporter of mine. You're never afraid to play devil's advocate in any situation in any of my videos and my opinions. But I love it. I love the dialogue, man. That's what makes this fun. And you know, if everybody agreed all the time, it'd be boring. But it's cool to have, and I learn from you, man. When you play devil's advocate and give me the other viewpoints, it helps me to learn. And I'm a guy who's not afraid to change his opinion on things if somebody's able to convince me of something. So Lord Raiden, I always appreciate your input, and I appreciate your continued support of my channel. And for those of you who haven't, like I said, please hit the red subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in to Couz's Corner. Until next time.